Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the trilateral dialogue between Pakistan and China, Afghanistan, the mutual efforts that have been made to boost security, particularly as far as our relationship with China is concerned, relevant to the region, also Afghanistan, and the ramifications of this trilateral dialogue as far as the whole region is concerned. Also, of course, the background of the SCO summit we've just seen. Overall, what it means for CPEC, what it means for the economic ties between Pakistan and China, what it means for peace in the region, particularly considering, of course, the relationship with Afghanistan, the internal situation as far as Afghanistan is concerned, our own economic situation, all of those things today on Perspective. I have with me Mustafa Hyder, who's Executive Director, Pak China Institute. Thank you so much for joining us today. We also have with us Kaswar Klasra, who's Correspondent China Delhi Foreign Affairs Expert. Thank you for being with us today. And we also have with us Shakeel Ramay, who is a Senior Analyst. Thank you for joining us today. Mustafa, like we were earlier saying, of course, we have an unprecedented relationship with China. There's no doubt about that. And also it's unequivocal in the sense that, you know, it's always been consistent regardless of which government, and it's above our internal political situation, generally speaking. But how do you look at this dialogue, particularly as far as this trilateral dialogue is concerned, and what do you expect from it in terms of, you know, the ramifications of it as far as the region is concerned?
Firstly, Pakistan stands vindicated. Right. That it is incredibly relevant in South Asia for those naysayers who say that Pakistan's foreign policy has not been going in the right direction. We see that the road to Kabul rise is via Islamabad, and the engagement with Afghanistan's incumbent government and the future prospective stability that the world wants in Afghanistan can't be without factoring in Pakistan. And the biggest, second biggest economy of the world and the rising power, which is China, has acknowledged that by making sure that the trilateral dialogue is convened in Islamabad. So firstly, it's very symbolic, and it also has, as you know, had tangible outcomes with the Afghanistan foreign minister, Chinese foreign minister, and our government brokering this. And as you know, China has been on a spree of brokering rapprochements, and very recently the Saudi-Iran détente, which is historic, has been done. And now we see that there's this new wave of harmony in South Asia. And I think that this trilateral meeting will have ripple effects for everyone. And Mahrukh, to your reference that how will what will be the ramifications of how other countries might look at this? I think that this is not a zero-sum perspective. Okay. This is all are winners in this, because a stable Afghanistan is in the interest of all the countries. Right. And an unstable Afghanistan is a joint collective concern and threat.
Which is what we've been trying to say, you know, from the word go, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, the internal situation is concerned. I'm going to go to Kaswar Saab. Kaswar, overall, do you agree with what Mustafa is saying? Of course, you know, internally we need a secure, safe Afghanistan for there to be regional peace. And that's essentially what we've been saying, that's essentially what our governments have successively been saying. As far as Chinese involvement now is concerned, do you think it will have a substantial effect on trying to perhaps get other countries to play ball as far as Afghanistan is concerned?
Exactly. Pakistan have been striking, you know, for a long time. And as my colleague has beautifully, you know, explained that the Pakistan stance has been vindicated as well. All road to Kabul, you know, pass to Islamabad. And he also gave an example of how Chinese play a crucial role to bring two the biggest powers of Muslim world together, and I mean Saudi Arabia and then Iran as well. So Chinese have proved their worth as well. And now you must remember that Pakistan and Chinese were the first countries who got in touch with the Taliban government there in Kabul, and there were clear signs that the Pakistanis and the Chinese wanted a clear role there in Afghanistan, and they were given on merit as well. So I believe this trilateral, dialogue would prove a game changer in Afghanistan, and I strongly agree with Mustafa that this is the high time for Pakistan to play a constructive role vis-a-vis with the help of Chinese and other international players as well, because Pakistan have been facing the brunt of what happened there in Afghanistan as well. We have we had excellent relationship with all the government there in Afghanistan as well, and we for long time we have been facing millions of the Afghan refugees as well. So we believe that the Pakistans have been on the front side when it's come to discuss not only Afghanistan but also the regional peace as well. So this is the high time. I think Pakistan and China can play a constructive role, and the good thing is they are doing it together.
This process should continue also.
Exactly. This is what Pakistan wanted for a long time.
Let me go to Shakeel Sahib. Shakeel Sahib, do you think it's going to, I mean, of course, we see that there is certainly, this trilateral dialogue is extremely important. But in terms of continuation, in terms of it, harboring perhaps a better response from other countries, which is what I essentially also, asked our guests here in the studio. How do you look at that process? How do you think it's going to be looked at? According to Mustafa and Klasra Sahib, everybody is a winner here. But globally speaking, how do you see it having the ripple effect we would like?
I think, thank you. I think it indicates one very important message for all the participants. Cooperation is key to solve the problem, and the cooperation is key to bring back peace and prosperity in Afghanistan. It is not just only the duty of one or two countries. It should be done by all the countries in the region and beyond the region. In the previous days, we have seen, so UN Security Council have convened a meeting in Doha, then the foreign minister, national security advisor of the neighboring countries have met to discuss Afghanistan. I think what is needed at this point of time, there we should work to bring all the efforts at one platform. Because if we want to solve this problem, we have to bring all the stakeholders on the same page, so they can talk to each other and come up with some durable, sustainable solution. Otherwise, it is feared that if we continue with the different platforms, it can create some type of the competition, if not the conflict,
to come up with the role that we invariably would like China to play as far as Afghanistan is concerned. The internal situation of Afghanistan, which has been precarious not only for us but also for the region, which is what we've been trying to highlight. Is it going to have an effect on that, in your opinion?
That's what I'm saying. It's about the region. It's not about one or two countries. And another thing, we should not put all the eyes on the China, because it will bring China under pressure. And if something good is not happening, then people will start to talk about the China, because the problem was not created by China. China was not part of the problem. China wants to be the part of the solution. But it should not be like that. Somebody else have created the problem. No, China have to solve it. If China is not solving, then it is not a good omen. So that's what I'm saying. All the regional countries. I give you one example. If we look around, so what electricity Afghanistan use and what proportion of electricity Afghanistan imports? More than 85%, I think, electricity Afghanistan imports. And from where that electricity comes? Uzbekistan, Iran, and other neighboring countries. Not from Pakistan, neither from China. So for economic development, electricity is key. So we have to bring all those parties on the board. So we have to chalk out a formula which is acceptable for all the partners. That's what I'm saying. Bring all the stakeholders on one platform. Every platform has its own advantages. Like Pakistan has a unique advantage for the last year of 50 years. We are trying to help Afghanistan, and we are hosting the millions of Afghan people in Pakistan. And China is offering generous support, and China can be the good source for the economic development and a source of connectivity. But seeing that we are important, but bring
Shakeel sir,
all
I think
secular.
there's a slight problem with audio, and I'll come back to you. I'm going to go to Umer Khan Ali Sherzai, who's a former ambassador. We also have him with us. Ji, Umer Saab, I don't know if you've been following. Shakeel Saab is talking about tangible results from this trilateral dialogue in helping the situation in Afghanistan. How far is it going to, is that going to happen in terms of helping the people there, the displacement there? Again, according to him, he's saying it's not, of course, a problem created by China, but they're willing to help. Of course, it's important for regional peace, like I earlier said, and everybody has to do whatever they can. But is it going to have those kind of tangible results, in your opinion?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let me at the outset say that this trilateral meeting was of immense importance. It will further foster the relations between Pakistan, China, and Afghanistan. Secondly, there are no political problems in Afghanistan. The problem that Afghanistan is facing is the economic problems. As for security in Afghanistan is concerned, under the Taliban regime, it is, everybody is perfectly secure. There are no law and order problems in Afghanistan as such. My own opinion is that all the countries of the world should concentrate more on the economic development of Afghanistan, which would finally lead to the peace and durable peace and stability in Afghanistan. Because everybody knows that the instability in Afghanistan impacts,
it's going to have a
all the
spillover
neighboring
effect, yes.
world
But
at large.
do you think it's going to get other countries of the world to perhaps, there is not only shortage of funds, there's a certain, funds in frozen funds in question, among other issues as far as Afghanistan is concerned. Is it going to have a result in there? Is it going to at all, ring a bell with other countries who can help achieve results there, in your opinion?
Well, I have been saying this very, constantly that this is the big power politics, that the America is withholding their funds, not allowing the Afghans to develop their country, which is highly unjust from all standards. I think it should now be an eye-opener for US and all other Western countries as well, that if they leave the space entirely to China, then they will be out from the Afghan situation. And it would have very bad repercussions for them in their future strategies. So it is high time that they should realize that Afghans should be helped economically.
Right. Ambassador, please stay with us. I will come back
that
to you. I'm going to go to Mustafa here. Mustafa, do you agree? I mean, one of the things that Ambassador Saab is saying that it's going to have perhaps an effect on countries like the US. Of course, in terms of leaving the region, we saw what happened as far as Afghanistan is concerned. But for them to remain relevant in the region, certainly this will play a role. Like the ambassador is saying, he's saying it's going to, perhaps for them to leave it like this and completely to countries that have considerable economic power, like China, will perhaps be a push, perhaps be a factor that will make them react positively as far as Afghanistan is concerned.
You see, when it comes to engaging with Afghanistan, it's seen as a double-edged sword.
Okay.
And like my friend Shakeel Ramay said, that this problem, the chaos, the instability that ensued after the invasion of Afghanistan, which was post 9/11, and the United States troops being in Afghanistan for since 2001 or 2002 till right now, till very recently, till last year, I saw the United States escape from Afghanistan after failing to win the war, ostensibly. So when we talk about engaging with Afghanistan, there's a different engagement. That when you contrast it, that was a military hard power driven engagement.
Right.
Now we are talking about soft power engagement. So there's completely two different types of engagement that we've seen and the transition that now we are seeing. Now we are talking about connectivity with Afghanistan, commerce with Afghanistan, stability through economic development. And when you talk about China, I think it's very important to note that when this interim government of Afghanistan came, one of the first statements that they gave in terms of foreign policy was that they would like to pursue a journey of economic development with China under the Belt and Road Initiative. And Zabiullah Mujahid, I believe, said that at that time, who was the spokesperson of this interim government. So now we are talking about a renaissance in Afghanistan of connectivity, economic development. As you know, there's a Wakhan corridor, which gives us natural connectivity Pakistan to Afghanistan, and then there was in the past conversations and discussion of expanding the China-Pakistan economic corridor to Afghanistan as a third party. So I think these are a lot of commonalities and synergy that there is, and there Pakistan has been a very gracious host to Afghan refugees, and there's this goodwill in both sides, and also with the different stakeholders in this interim government, we have hosted them and their families. So
Mustafa, that's true. Of course, we do have a considerable, I mean, we would like to say, and I think there's some truth in the fact that we have leeway. But the question is, I want to talk about this also, the relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan hasn't been without challenges either. And in terms of our relationship with the Afghans there, our sway there, you know, it's not always been consistent, and it's at times been unpredictable. That also has to be kept in mind when this engagement takes place, right? And for us to expect too much might also, do you think, be problematic?
I think absolutely I agree with you that we've had problems with Afghanistan and there was a trust deficit. But at that time, the government of that time, which was with Mr. Karzai, and then after that with Mr. Ashraf Ghani, they were, as you remember, Vice President of Afghanistan like Amrullah Saleh and other people who are very anti-Pakistan. And there was a big Indian lobby within the Afghan establishment at that time. Now there is a completely different turnaround.
Okay.
And we, as you know, back in the day, were the only one of 3 countries that recognized the Afghan Taliban when they were in power earlier. It was the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. And so I believe that historically with these, this government which is in power, Pakistan has had a close relationship, and we did not ditch them despite many facing many pressures.
So you're saying we have a certain
confidence. So I think we have a certain sway, and I think that is manifested in this very successful trilateral dialogue that we hosted. And one last point is that this is, we have to remember that the writ of the Afghan state is not complete all over Afghanistan.
I want to come to that. I
So
want to talk about
we have to factor that in when we talk about expectations and over expecting or under expecting.
Fair enough. Klasra, this is what I want to come to. Mustafa is also talking about this as far as the TTP is concerned. Elements within Afghanistan which are proving a challenge for the government, for the Afghan government also.
Exactly.
That has to factor in also. Do you think that China can play a role there also in the internal situation of Afghanistan, in the internal relationship of the Afghan government and the TTP at all?
Exactly, very good question. Let me tell you that I spent a few weeks in Kabul last year. I think I was there in September, and then first week of October as well. I held a number of meetings with some, the powerful people, including the Deputy Prime Minister, Interim Deputy Prime Minister, and then Zabiullah Mujahid as well. So I got sense that the way in the critical times, Chinese have been investing over there.
Okay.
Even after, you remember the attack on a restaurant where Chinese used to live there in Kabul as well. That was a terrible attack. But surprisingly, Chinese did not give up after that attack as well. So that means, and now I am connecting your question to this situation, that Chinese did not give up, because Chinese are in touch with Pakistan, and Pakistan is in touch with some of the powerful warlords and definitely the powerful people in Afghanistan as well. So this trika is working wonderful. But regarding your question, the TTP is a concern, ISIS is also a concern. I think China can play a constructive role with the help of Pakistan, and I have credible reports that the both are working with the interim government in Afghanistan, and results are clearly in the favor of region as well. I think they are in a position and they are working very well.
Right, fair enough. I'm going to go to Shakeel Saab. Shakeel Saab, we've been talking about the role of the Afghan Taliban with reference to what's happening internally, as far as not entirely the stable situation, a stable situation within Afghanistan. Do you think it's going to be possible again, as far as Chinese involvement within Afghanistan is concerned, and the recent unfortunate, not very long ago, spate of terrorism we saw within Pakistan also? For which we have been concerned. Do you think it's going to have a role to play there?
Definitely, China is playing a role there, and China will have to play a role there. Because from the very beginning, when US forces were withdrawing from Afghanistan, I was of the view. So this is the deliberate attempt to create a chaos in the region. And who will be the biggest victim of that chaos? One of the bigger wisdom will be the Belt and Road Initiative and interest of China. And second, the Islamic Turkmenistan movements, which was having some presence in Afghanistan, and ISSI, which have the presence in Afghanistan, they will definitely create problem for the China. So China is cognizant of the fact and the ground reality. That's why China has deliberately and consciously adopted this policy to engage with the Taliban and remain committed for this engagement. As my other colleague Klasra was talking about, even after the attack in the Kabul, so Chinese did not leave. China is still working. Rather, in the recent days, there was a very big news. So one of the Chinese company, they wanted to invest around about 10 billion US dollar in the mineral sector. That was just the start of the investment. It will be the hundreds of billions would be invested in the mineral sector. So China is expanding, and China will continue to expand until there is some very dramatic or something unforeseen will happen. So maybe that is another problem, but it is hope China will continue to work. Second thing on the Taliban and TTP in Pakistan. I think Pakistan committed a mistake. Pakistan should not talk to the TTP in Pakistan directly. Pakistan should ask the Taliban government in Afghanistan, you have to deal with them. In doing so, what we did, we equate government of Pakistan with the TTP. We should not do that. We should ask the Taliban government in Afghanistan, come up with a solution and talk to them. Because they have their linkages, we have to accept it. The TTP and the Taliban in the past, they have their linkages. And third thing, there was some elements of the trust deficit between Pakistan and Taliban also. If we have seen in the past, so we have handed over the diplomats, Afghan diplomats to the Americans, and we were a part of the war on terror. That created some differences, others you can say deficit, trust deficit. So we need to be very cognizant. And as you are talking about, when you are talking to the Mustafa, you are rightly mentioned. So we also have to keep in the mind, we should not portray ourselves like that we have the magic stick to all the stuff. There are problems, and we should also be very conscious on that. That's why I was proposing we need to engage all the stakeholders, either it's Afghanistan, either Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Russia, and other. So bring other initiatives together with this the trilateral mechanism, try to expand it and come up with a better solution. So where all the stakeholders are united to have a peace in Afghanistan. Because whatever we say, either we say we are the brotherly countries, we are doing this. Every country, they have their own national interest, and every country they have their own priority to protect their own national interest. So Pakistan should also give the space to every country and try to bring other countries from the region and the adjacent region to this platform to expand this trilateral cooperation to make it more meaningful.
Fair enough. Let me come back to you. Ji, Umer Khan Sahab, Ambassador, it's you know what Shakeel Sahab is saying. He's saying that we need to expand this to other stakeholders in the region. When we talk about other stakeholders, of course, you know, will this involve, do you think that perhaps it's better to have this followed by other dialogues, which will perhaps, you know, a fifth dialogue which engages with other countries in the region who have a role and who can play an effective role in this diplomacy to ensure that, you know, we get the kind of results we would like as far as Afghanistan is concerned, as far as ensuring peace in the region is concerned, which is, according to, you know, for us the primary get back from any kind of dialogue as far as Afghanistan is concerned.
First of all, I by and large agree with your wonderful panelists today. They have given very good analysis of the situation. I have to add a little bit that the Afghan Taliban government do not call themselves as interim government. They are a government. It is something else that we have not recognized their government, but it is not an interim government. It is the full-fledged government. So we should not deny the Afghans by saying that it is an interim government. Secondly, I agree with Shakeel that that the best way for Pakistan should have been that we should have engaged the Taliban government instead of talking to the TTP, which was a huge blunder. And that caused a lot of problems. And you saw the recent cases of bomb blasts in Peshawar and other places. So that was a very, very cardinal mistake that the Pakistan government made. I hope our government should not repeat it. Secondly, this initiative certainly should lead them to engage all these neighboring countries in order to help Afghanistan to become stable and politically and economically, which would be the interest of not only Pakistan but all the neighboring countries, which will help to boost our trade relations and or economic relations with Afghanistan and all these neighboring countries, because Afghanistan is the gateway to Central Asia and then to Russia as well. So the recent developments in the region, as you see, that China, Russia, and Pakistan is now has engaged Russia by placing orders for oil with Russia. So these are good developments, and all these things are in the best interest of the country. I think we should follow them very vigorously and don't give any opportunity to the spoilers that we have even here in Pakistan and as well as in Afghanistan. So we should stick to the policy of achieving our national interest by all means. And I can tell you that I have personal experience with the Taliban. I have been Consul General during the Taliban regime in Kandahar and had a lot of meetings with Mullah Umar and all the Taliban leadership. They are wonderful people. They all love Pakistan and they are very sincere to Pakistan. And even the present Afghan Taliban leadership is very sincere, despite the fact that, as my friend earlier mentioned, that we made a little bit of mistakes of handing over their ambassador to the Americans for the sake of few fines, which really brought a very bad name to Pakistan's integrity. I think now the Taliban also realized that the Pakistan is of strategic importance for them, and China also knows it. So in the best interest of
Ambassador, let me come back to you on that.
Pakistan.
Let me come back to you on that note. Mustafa, of course, you know, we, like Ambassador was saying, and we've earlier talked about, it's important for us, the relationship as far as Afghanistan is concerned, for, of course, a multitude of reasons, peace being primarily, of course, of importance also. But what about balancing our relationship as far as China is concerned, as far as this region is concerned, their involvement in Afghanistan is concerned, and the US? Are we going to be able to do both, in your opinion? And how? Is it going to be challenging? How do you look at, or is it, you know, not dependent or mutually exclusive of one another? How do you look at it?
Firstly, when we often say balancing,
Yeah.
that many a times implies diluting our relationship with China.
Okay.
Because Pakistan's stated policy, and rightly so, is to engage with everyone and
Right.
all countries, because we don't have any particular specific partisanship. However, just like the United States had made the decision to have a strategic bilateral partnership, which has now been elevated as per the White House statement 2 months ago, to have India as the numero uno in Asia, so to speak. Pakistan has also exercised that right to have that unique strategic bilateral partnership, what we
With
call the
China.
iron brother, all-weather partnership with China, based on the track record of China supporting Pakistan's core interests. And I'll just refer to the joint communique which has come out of the foreign ministers meeting. And we see that China and the foreign minister state counselor has given a very clear and unequivocal endorsement to firstly supporting Pakistan's territorial integrity and sovereignty, supporting Pakistan Kashmir, which is our core interest, has spoken about 2 mega CPEC projects. When you talk about connectivity, it would be incomplete if you don't mention the ML1, which will connect Kashgar and Xinjiang to ultimately to Gwadar. And that will be the biggest CPEC project to date, by the way, $9.2 billion.
Okay.
Right. And then of course expanding and enhancing Gwadar ports development. So he's talked about this and also mentioned that the rollover, the financing and the foreign exchange issue that we are facing of dollars and our currency depreciating, we will continue to assist Pakistan on that, come what may. So whether it is our internal economic interest, which is our paramount issue right now, economy is our, that's the highest priority of the government. And secondly, our political sanctity and our threat vis-a-vis India, which we again saw pronounced and amplified when we, as a responsible member state of the SCO, went to India and what we got in return. So this shows that Pakistan, in the lowest ebb that it is unfortunately right now due to different circumstances, China is standing like a rock. So as responsible states in today's world, all countries have to pursue
Their own interests.
relationships vis-a-vis their interests.
And plus, I think you said that all are equal, but some are more equal than others. In this case,
Yes.
it seems to be that. Let me go to Klasra Sahab. Klasra Sahab, do you agree? I think, you know, one has to agree with what Mustafa is saying as far as our relationship with China is concerned. And at this time, you know, of course, we're choosing to do what's best for our foreign policy, in our interests, in our greater economic interests, and our greater, you know, strategic interests as far as China is concerned.
Exactly, exactly. And let me appreciate our young, you know, the foreign minister. He has done great job. Remember, and I mean my word, that he has been doing great job since the day he was appointed as a foreign minister of Pakistan. Look, we have excellent relationship with United States. Do you agree?
Yes.
And we have developed great relationship with China. Agree? And now don't forget that the Pakistan have been, you know, locking heads with Moscow. But now what happened? We have you know developed excellent relationship with Moscow as well. So now in background of everything, no, Pakistan has developed great relations with three biggest, you know, the powers of the present world: Russia, China, and United States. So it means our foreign policy and all of the stakeholders when we discuss Pakistan foreign policy, they are working very well. That is perhaps the fact that the United States did not, snub Pakistan when we initiated the dialogue with the Russian, with Moscow. We have been facing energy crunch for a long time, but this time, I think, if I am not wrong, first shipment will be arriving later this month as well from Russia. So that is a turning point, that you have developed great relationship with United States. Now, Russia, and don't forget that what the state of relationship between United States and Moscow. But even that, you have developed great relationship with Washington. That is perhaps the fact they did not disagree with Islamabad when we developed energy corridor with Russia. And definitely Mustafa has rightly pointed out that the China has always stood with Pakistan. But again, don't forget that both China and United States, they have developed some cracks in their relationship as well. So I must appreciate at this critical time, our foreign policy is working wonderful for Pakistan, and let us appreciate Mr. Bilawal Bhutto as well. He has done a great job, and foreign officers have been doing their job perfectly superb.
Shakeel sahab, our relationship on one side, as far as China is concerned, as far as America is concerned, as far as Russia also, which is what Klasra Sahab here is saying. But overall, as far as our concerns, CPEC overall, I think you and I have discussed CPEC on a number of occasions here, and there have been times, there have been challenges there. I think that, at times. For us to ensure the kind of pace that China would like, for us to deal with the challenges there, is also something that we are going to have to be very dynamic, very careful about. Isn't that true? Unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I think this is a very important question which you have raised. I will answer your question, but I will also answer something on Afghanistan later. Let's be very clear. From this visit, two things are very clear. Number one, the expansion of the security relationship. China has categorically offered Pakistan to help Pakistan to build capacity and the modern security system. Modern security system is extremely important, and China is a leading country in that, because China is adopting, and China has no comparison in certain elements like artificial intelligence based the security system of the warfare. China is leader. China has shown its strength at the border with the different countries. So Pakistan must grab this opportunity. This would be a real game changer opportunity for the Pakistan in the context of the security and the defense, because we have to move away the modern security systems. And instead of the missiles, you are using the drone. Even you can penetrate within the country, and artificial intelligence, information warfare. So this is an excellent, I think, offer from our brother. Second, to speed up work on CPEC, one-liner, we have to put our house in order. We need to shut our mouth and move our hands. We are giving the lengthy speeches all the time. China is that, China is that. Okay, China is giving the offers. It is like that. Your brother is giving you a BMW which is parking in front of your home, but you don't drive it. It's not the problem with your brother that he has given you the best available gift, but the problem with you, if you cannot drive it. So we have all the elements, and for that purpose, we have to bring all the CPEC related work at one central body. It can be a CPEC authority. If they don't like the name of CPEC authority, they can depute Ministry of Planning or Ministry of Commerce, or they can ask the Board of Investment, any ministry. Make them a central body and give them the power to make decision and implementation. They should be a political body. Second thing, which I want to mention quickly because due to a short of time, we are talking about Afghan. We are talking about Afghan people, Afghan trilateral process. Although everybody is contributing, the one thing Afghanistan also have to understand, they cannot dictate the whole world. If they have to change to accommodate some changes of the modern world, they have to come up with the better ideas to accommodate the required demands of the other country, legitimate demands. I'm not saying the unfair demands, but they have to change and try to live with the modern era. Like that, there's a saying of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, समूमन अपने मूल हालात के साथ रहता है, वक्त के साथ रहता है. समूमन means a true Muslim live with in its own era. So where he is living, where he is belonging. So Afghan Taliban also have to change. They cannot insist the whole world will listen to them and then cooperate with them. The cooperation, the both parties will come forward and create some middle ground. Second thing, Taliban must put focus on the youth, because youth is the most worst victim of this terrorism and the vulnerable. Why vulnerable? Because the terrorist organization always love to recruit the youth, and when the youth don't have economic opportunity, they become
Right, fair
prey
enough.
of.
Thank you so much, Shakeel Sahab. I think that's very valuable as far as getting our own house in order is concerned. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us, Kaswar Klasra Sahab, Mustafa, Hyder, Shakeel Ahmad, Ramay, Umer Khan Ali, sherzai. Thank you for joining us today. Of course, China is extremely close to Pakistan. Our strategic relationship is extremely important, and we're making new headways there. There's no denying that. The trilateral dialogue is proof of that. Of course, more interaction will likely follow. Of course, we also need to understand the limitations that we have as far as the region is concerned, and perhaps work on our own issues. Get our own ducks in a row as far as CPEC is concerned, as far as internal issues are concerned, so that we can, of course, reap maximum benefit from this relationship as far as China is concerned, and get as results, tangible results, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, and as far as ensuring peace in the region is concerned. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.